guys, my name's Kimmy, and Truth Alive 7 was kind enough to invite me on his channel so that way I could talk to you guys today about what it's like to own and ride a Yamaha R1. In 2009, Yamaha reinvented the R1 with an all-new model, which draws power delivery technology from its super successful MotoGP bikes. The first thing you're going to notice about this bike is its aggressive appearance. This bike is just fucking sexy. It's got a couple of different features on it than the old bikes. The first is that you're going to notice that the ram air intake scoops are actually inside the headlights, which really gives it a cleaner, more aggressive, kind of angry appearance, which I think is something that makes this one of the best looking Japanese bikes available on the market right now. The other thing that you're going to notice is that it is a lot bulkier, which to me, I mean, it adds to the appearance. I like that aggressive appearance, but at the same time, it's kind of a drawback because it does make it one of the heaviest bikes. It's a 1000. One of the best things about the 2009 model and up is that it has a cross-plane crankshaft motor, which gives you two things. First of all, it's going to give you a greater amount of torque across the entire power band, which makes for a better drive out of the corners. And then the second thing that you're going to get is a better sound. Most bikes sound whiny and screechy when they're an inline 4-cylinder motor, but this bike has kind of more of a low growl. It sounds like a V4.
So there's a couple of faults with the bike that need to be noted. The first one is the bike's heavy weight. It's the heaviest Japanese sport bike on the market. It's about a 470-pound wet weight with a full tank of gas in it. That's a pretty heavy bike, and you can really feel it when you tip the bike up off the kickstand, when you tip the bike into a corner. You can feel the weight, and it affects the handling severely, especially in transitions and chicanes and stuff like that. So mostly at the track is where you're going to suffer from that. But the cool thing is the bike still holds the line really well. So in the corners of the back roads, the fast sweepers, if you're just tipping it in for a single line and swooping through a corner, it's not a big deal. But it's something to consider if you're going to buy this bike for a track bike. The other thing that hinders your ability to use this bike as a track bike is the suspension, which combined with the heavy weight and the selection of forks that they use, it's set up pretty soft from the factory. And even though it is adjustable and you can make it a little tighter, it never quite responds well to the bumps on the tracks. Now around town the suspension is great, so it's something that you need to think about if you're considering buying this bike. It's probably not a good all-rounder. It's a good around town in the back roads bike, but probably not too good at the track, which is a shame because the motor is so outstanding. The other things that need to be noted, there were two recalls on the 2009 and 2010 models. The first one is the cam chain tensioner makes a nasty rattle when you first start the bike when it's cold. And it took Yamaha a couple of years to get on this and set up a recall, but thankfully they did, and I had it done on mine. And they were really quick and helpful about getting that taken care of for me, completely free of charge. The other one is that the headlights that go into those areas with the ram air scoops up front have a tendency to, for some reason, melt the plastic around the headlight housing. So that's something that you would also have to get fixed if you were looking into buying this model. Either get it fixed or make sure that it has been fixed.
One of the things that Yamaha added for the 2012 model is a MotoGP traction control system. This is good if you're going to be riding the bike on the track, but it's probably not going to be that useful or that necessary if you're riding the bike on the road unless you're riding it super fucking hard.
One of the other things that Yamaha implemented in 2009 with this new model is they used their fly-by-wire throttle system to impose 3 power modes on the bike. Now this makes the bike much more usable in different situations. The modes are called A, B, and Standard. Every time you start the bike up, it automatically defaults to standard, which is a good thing because standard is a pretty versatile mode. It's already a lot torquier than most of the inline fours you're going to ride, but it's not difficult to learn like A mode is. A mode is balls to the walls, power all the time, and it's ridiculous. It's crazy to ride. It feels faster than my 1198 felt torque-wise, even though it probably isn't. It feels like you're just flying into warp speed. B mode is a little bit tamer. It feels probably a lot like, let's say, my RC51, kind of an underpowered B-twin type of feel. And I like it. I love riding around in B mode. It's a great round town mode. And that brings me to the issue of living with this bike every day. Living with this bike every day is something that you're not going to see in a lot of the reviews. Because a lot of the times you'll see a sport bike lineup at a track or riding around really aggressively on the road. But what if you do want to take this bike around town? What if you want to loan it to your friend? What if you want to do your own oil changes? Well, that's what I'm going to tell you about right now. To live with every day with the power modes, it's an excellent bike to do. You can adjust the suspension, it's fairly plush. Compared to my old Ducati 1198 that I just sold, this bike is a Mercedes. The seat's much more comfortable. It's more user-friendly in every way. The power band's more user-friendly, and the modes make it very easy to use. As far as oil changes are concerned, I'm going to go and compare it again to my Ducati because that's the other extreme. Oil changes on this bike take about 30 minutes. Each of these bolts here is a single twist off. You just use an Allen key and turn it once, and you can literally take the bolt off. They turn and lock. So basically you have these two bolts, and this bolt, and you can already get to the oil filter just like that. It's amazing. So if you're in the market to buy a Japanese leader bike, how do you decide whether you want this bike or not? Well, I've basically given you the pros and cons of the bike, so you got to consider it as a lineup. All the bikes are always pretty evenly matched. So let's look at basically three factors that are going to be defining selling points: power, technology, and styling. Well, styling, personally, I think this bike looks the best of them all. I've always loved the aggressive dual headlights and the undertail dual pipes that Yamaha's gone with. Even though these aren't the best for mass centralization, and a lot of people think they're kind of ugly. But I think that the Honda, which is probably the most functionally styled, it's styled to be mass centralized, perform, handle, and be light. I think it's personally the ugliest. That's just my opinion. But if I was going to buy a bike for the track, the Honda would be the one I would buy. If I was going to buy a bike for around town, this would be the one because I think it looks the best. I think I look the best on it. I love how it sounds. As far as technology, this bike is loaded with technology. The crossplane motor is directly MotoGP derived. It's got a gear shift position indicator. It's got fly-by-wire throttle. It's got 3 power modes. It's extremely usable. You can get the new model with traction control. Basically everything that you can ask technologically is in this bike, and a lot of those features aren't in the other bikes. The Suzuki and the Honda don't have traction control, for instance. A lot of the bikes don't have gear position indicators still. So as far as the technology, you kind of get a lot of the technology you're used to getting with only the Italians and European bikes, the BMWs, the Aprilias, the Ducatis. So that's kind of a cool feature of this bike. And then the final deciding factor is power. Even though this bike is one of the lowest rated in peak horsepower, when they measure peak wheel horsepower, it still has one of the best power deliveries of any bike, and most people will tell you that. It feels like you have a direct line of control from the throttle to the rear wheel, and that's a blast. It's fun to drive, and it's great in the back roads. It would be great on the track, the power delivery, but for the weight and the handling.
Is this how you get on this thing?
I don't want to get on it, Caleb. It's really hot. Hot.
Oh, yeah.
This is just so much better than a 4-cylinder motor, but this bike, man, I still sounded stupid. Hold on. I can do it one more time. motorcycle. Goes fast. I know it has 2 wheels. Hold on. Okay. What's on? It didn't beep. What about... Oh, God damn it. In 2009, Yamaha reinvented the... Fuck.
Okay, start.